Hello everyone. In this video, I want to do a walkthrough of Recall, which is a recent app that I started using here. It's probably been a couple weeks that I've been using this app, and it has sparked a lot of excitement on the possibilities of what I can do with this application. There are some pros, some cons to it, but I think overall it is a really capable and versatile solution, AI solution with note taking in it that I think a lot of people will get a lot of value from. And the cost of it is not all that expensive. I think it's reasonably priced where it is. I'll get into some of that later. And if you stick around, I have a discount code that Recall was able to give to me to offer to my viewers that's going to get you a pretty good discount on it if you take advantage of it before October 1st. So let's go ahead and get into the video. I'm going to walk through this. This is probably going to be a longer video, a little bit more in depth on some things just to give you a pretty good holistic view of some of the things you can do with it and how I'm using it, and also my thought around future use cases for this application and its potential going forward. So the first thing is that Recall advertises itself as a knowledge base, a highlighting tool, a note-taking tool, and an encyclopedia for the mind. First and foremost, most people will probably look at it as a web clipping tool. They do have an extension, a browser extension that you can install, and you can start clipping things. So we can see here I have the browser extension already installed here. This is easy to install just like all the rest of them. Just go to the Chrome store, look for Recall, install it. And then once you're on different pages, like either pages with just text, any blogs, other articles, and also even YouTube, you can hit the browser extension, bring those in. I'll show some of that as well. And then it will bring that in, summarize the content for you, and then you can add notes. They have connections, so on and so forth. So right out of the gate, you can see I'm on the home page. This is the UI. I'm in dark mode here. They also have a light mode that you can go into, which is pretty good. And you have down this left side pane, you have a few areas of the application where you have your home, and then right off to the right of that, this bar is the tags that you add to the different notes and cards that you have in your environment. As someone that loves tags, I really love this particular way of organizing the different content and information that I'm storing in an application, because it gives me the flexibility to have things in more than one area of my organizational structure. And it also allows me to be able to change things without messing things up. So if I want to keep this design, I can literally have these cards in multiple places within the application, and I can show you how that benefits. So yeah, the tag structure is extremely versatile. You are able to have these different hierarchies and go down. As I haven't gone too deep in the hierarchy because it can get complex, so I'm not too sure how far you can get from a drill down perspective, but you do have multi-level tags here with parent-child relationships that you can work with here. So this is pretty good. If you go to the next tab here, we have a chat, and this is a general chat, but it really has some good capabilities from it, from where you can drill into the context that you want and get really honed into some of those areas that I've shown here. Your structure will look completely different the way you've set this up. And if you look online at some of the other videos, you'll also see how their structures and how things are laid out here are completely different. Me, I like more of a minimalistic type of view from the beginning, and then I can drill down into everything instead of just having a long list of different tags and folders that basically just takes my eyes and have me just going all over the place, or make it just hard to find things for me. So I start with a top level that's pretty simple for me to work with, and then start drilling down and finding things that way. So that's just my take. Within the chat, what you can do is you can hit this little @ symbol here, and then you can either pick certain cards that you might have in your vault there that you saved from the internet or from wherever. Those will show up. One thing that I did note here, and I also mentioned it in the to the developers, is that in the documentation it does say that you can add a single card, which you can do here. It says add cards or tags. But if you've manually created that card, they're not showing up here. So if I was to type my name, and I know I have a card in there with my name on it, it does not show up here in this list. So that is one thing right now that it seems like a bug. Hopefully they work that out to where even the manual content that you enter in shows up, that you can come in here and focus in on that particular type of context. But you do have the ability to add in tags, and you can add the tags in either at the top level or anywhere in the subtree of your vault that you have in there, in order to hone in and focus in on the particular content that you want. So you can look at tags as the traditional type of tag, where you just look at it from an indication of this tag identifies some high level thing for that particular content. Like if I was to say put a tag about people, I know that anything I create and then give that tag is going to be about a person. But you can also use these tags as folders. When you create the hierarchy here, you can come in here and let's say I want to have projects. I can create a tag called, like here I have a Jekyll Island trip, where I want to plan out a trip for me and the wife to go to Jekyll Island. This tag is basically being used as a folder, and then I'm placing in sources here, which are just cards based on information from different sources here. And what I can do is add Jekyll Island trip as context within the chat, and then I can start asking the AI different questions about the resources, and it'll focus on the resources that are within that particular tag or folder. And also you can see that there's history of all your chats here, and you can come in here if you want to rename them, delete them. Again, the organization is very good within Recall, and you can even come in here and you can delete certain things that you don't want to have anymore to keep things clean and tidy. Now the next area here on the sidebar is the graph. And if you look at the graph, the graph can get messy. I'm not too big of a graph fan, especially from a high level like this. But at least if you're in this particular graph, you can do some filtering here. It may not be as intuitive as some of the other applications. Like in Obsidian, you get a filter option where you can click on things and filter stuff out, and it's very apparent that it's for filtering. In this particular application, you filter by selecting on things within this side pane here, within your tag hierarchy. So if you do want to filter in only on, say, projects, I click on projects, and those should be the only things that show up in this map. But as you see, I clicked on that, and now I have to hunt for what I want. It doesn't really snap directly or go to the actual stuff that I really wanted to focus in on. So if you want to add multiple areas, as you click, what you're doing is you're adding these tags as context, and you're getting everything underneath that hierarchy as well. So if I come into, say, the areas section, if I click on the tag again, it removes it, so I can exclude those. Once you exclude everything, then it basically includes everything within the graph. So if I come in here and I say I want to include the areas, the entire hierarchy there, and then you want to exclude some stuff from this particular view, I can remove health, say I can remove spirituality, and then this makes the graph only show the stuff that's particular to what's highlighted over here. So just take note in that there. I didn't think it was that intuitive when I first came in here, and until I started seeing that, hey, as I click over here, things actually started getting filtered over here in this section, right? So I can come in here also, and if I want to remove all of these from here, and if I come in here and I filter, let's say by AI, you can also do a little search there, and then you can hone in on what you might want a little bit quicker that way too. If you have a really deep hierarchy of stuff and you're not too sure where it is, or you just don't want to click around in your navigation, you just type it in here, it'll find it real quick, you select it, and then the view changes pretty easily here. The one thing I would note that is somewhat of an annoyance is that the graph itself, when nothing is selected here, and here, let me see, right now it looks like something is selected in this view. Let me go ahead and click here. See, it's not really showing me at a top level where that is. If I open this up, I can see that here the AI is still selected, but it would be nice if there was some kind of indicator that showed either over here at the top, like the things that are actually selected, similar to what you can do here on the home page, or what you see here on the home page, where it shows as you add in different areas. So we can see AI is selected there. If I was to come and select project, you see how it adds things across the top there. And then if I want to clear everything, I can clear everything. So the one good thing is that this filter actually, it translates to all the other areas. So if I go back into graph, everything is cleared from that filter standpoint, and we have reset. But it would be nice to see that here, so I don't have to switch back and forth between the home and the graph, or fish through to see where I might have something selected. And really the only other thing to note in the graph is that you do get a lot of information or things showing up in here as far as nodes that are not have been explicitly added into your knowledge base or vault here. So this is showing information where there are potential connections to stuff that's in your environment that's out on the internet somewhere, and it shows you those connections. It would be a good thing to have the ability to remove that noise. So there are some times where you will want to see that, and it's actually a good thing to see some of this other connect or potential connections to other stuff that's just out there on the internet that you might not have thought of, but it would be much better to at least have an option to make this stuff disappear. And currently I have not found a way to make that stuff disappear and clear that up from the graph. Now the next one is the review. The recall review here is basically where you can set up some of your spaced repetition, create quizzes, and have questions. I started using this just a little bit here. We can see here just one day I've created some questions and started using it, but I haven't really used this feature as much. But there is some value here where you can come in here and I can start a review here based off of what I've already added. And as you go through the things that you don't answer correctly, it will show you that more often. And the things that you really know, it will show you less. If you have a question here, you can come in here and I can peek, and it will take me to the card that this information came from. So I can come in here, and if I wanted to search through the PDF or any of the content, I can find a little bit more information on the question if I'm not too sure what it is. And I can also even add some stuff into this note here where it may help me with the recall, because by putting things in my own word, that's a bit more memorable, because as you put things in your own word, you tend to remember it a lot more than just having the AI spit out summaries and then you just read the content and go about your day. You'll forget most of that information fairly quickly. So always good to put things in your own words, but you can come in here and you can easily create the summaries from the AI, but also come in here and add in your own words. This here is a concise summary. There's also a detailed summary option that you can do. While we're in the card, I can come in here and I can regenerate this summary. I can copy it and I can delete this particular summary. I can collapse this here. So if I have a card and I want to put more information in my own words in here, I can come in here and I can do that here at the bottom. This here I've seen can be, depending on when you generate the summaries, it will either show up at the top or it can show up somewhere in the bottom. It just depends on when you add content and when you generate this particular summary. The summary can be generated from here as well. Most people, or at least when I originally saw this, if I deleted it, I would have thought I could recreate it here. So it was a little bit confusing on how I could generate this thing. But once you go into the chat, this is where the summaries can be generated. And then once you generate the summary, so if I want to create a detailed one here, I'll go ahead and kick that off. And once it's done, it'll create its summary here, and we can go through it. If I want to edit any of this here, we can see that it's not something that is letting me edit the actual content here, because it's somewhat like a chat window that you get with, say, Gemini or ChatGPT. The responses you cannot edit. But if I wanted to save this here to the notebook, we can see we have a little icon. This has actually changed recently. This used to be a bigger button. But you can add this to the notebook. So if I click on there, it adds it to the notebook. And if I go to the notebook now, we can see I have that concise summary and I have the detailed summary. And from here, I can add information. I can come in here and I can highlight things, so on and so forth. So it is editable once you add it to the notebook. I can still come in here and delete this so that it's a little bit cleaner there. And with the chat here, I can also chat about, ask the AI about things that for the particular card that I'm in. This is a more focused chat here where the context is this particular note and the focus is on whatever this note is about, which this is a PDF. It could be YouTube or podcast, whatever the format is that Recall supports and you have as a note here. You can also create the quiz from here. You can see the connections for this specific item or note, and you can get a graph for this particular note as well. You can see how it put up all these different connection points that if I want to add these into my environment, I can, but I think the graph could get a little bit crazy on some things here where the connections are all over the place. But it is a nice feature to have so that you can draw in on some connections that you might not have known that were out there. So yeah, just make sure you're using this one here for that purpose. Now, if we go back to that sidebar and we go into settings, we can see here where we can set the thing where it's in dark mode. It's set to whatever the system is doing, or you can change it here into light mode. And then you can come here, you can set the translation summary language, the default one there. You can do the search language. You can see there's a lot of them in there. You can have this recall review email. The review email is sent only if you have questions to review scheduled for that day. So if you're doing your spaced repetition, you can have this email you. You can also export the information to Markdown. So this is a bulk export of everything within your vault to Markdown format here. And I actually don't think it pulls down images, but let's go ahead. I'm going to see what comes out of that. So as I open up and expand the zip file, here's everything that comes down from there. And what I'm finding here too in the export, so as I mentioned in the graph, how it shows all those different connections. This here also shows a lot of connections in here of stuff that I don't have a particular, I haven't added the actual card explicitly to my vault, but these cards are actually being pulled down in the export. I would not want all of this here because these are things that I haven't explicitly added into my vault. So I think that this is something from the export and from the graph perspective that we should be able to exclude. So when I come in here and I do export, maybe an option to say add Wikipedia connections or erroneous connections or whatever, and be able to uncheck that and only download the stuff that I've explicitly put within my vault. You also have the ability to come in here to your subscription and change your subscription from monthly to annually or vice versa. And then you can delete your account from here as well. And I think I skipped right over what the default action is after. So when you come in here and you choose the default action for the content you add, so when you're using the extension, what that default action is, either it just opens up the reader, creates a summary, a concise summary, or a detailed summary. So those are configurable here as well. All right, so let's go into the home. This is where you can add your different notes here if you're going to do it manually. As I mentioned before, you can use the extension, and I'll get into that one next. Now, if you want to add things manually, you can come in here and hit that add content button. It shows you what it supports here. All you have to do is just drop a link in here, and then it will go ahead and do what it needs to do for that content and summarize it or just add it in here as a card. You can come in here and you can go to Wikipedia or these different knowledge or data sources here and add links to those. You can drop a PDF. You can only do one PDF at a time right now, but you can come in here and put PDFs. One thing to note with the PDFs is that it only supports PDFs that are text-based. If you have more image-based PDFs, like I use e-ink tablets where they output in a PDF format that's more of an image, it will not do anything with that particular type of PDF. So if your PDF has images in it, or they're mainly based on being an image with handwriting, it will not be able to recognize any of that. So that is one key thing to note with Recall, is that pretty much all the content that you're inputting in here, if it's text-based, then you're going to be great. Images, videos, and even I don't think audio is supported right now unless you're putting a URL maybe to a podcast. And I think the podcast, Apple and Spotify here are working. So it's going to take the audio, transcribe it. So hopefully soon. I think I saw in one of the documents that it is on the roadmap to add audio, and I think I saw in the Discord where images are another source or content type that will be supported sometime in the future. Now, PDF, I think I talked about that one already. You can also come in here and you can import bookmarks, import information from Pocket, import markdown files. And one thing to note with the markdown files is that you can import multiple files. I actually was able to import about, I think it was 200 markdown files from my Obsidian vault in one go. You have to zip that file up as it shows here and drop that zip file on here, and it basically went through them without a hitch for me. Now, I've also seen in the Discord where some people zipped up content and put it in there and had problems, but I did see some of the problems that they had might be related to some of the formatting were not all markdown. They also had other file formats that the processing engine here had to go through, and it may have spit out some errors. So make sure if you're trying to bulk upload stuff into here, that it is a supported format, and markdown files have worked flawlessly for me, even in bulk when importing them into Recall. And then there is the empty card or note that you can put in here. The note editor has some basic markdown formatting functionalities using this particular toolbar here at the bottom. You can come in here and you can add in emojis, you can add in images and upload images here. Remember, the images are not images that you're going to actually be able to say like OCR or use with the chat to analyze these images. You're just putting them in here more as decoration. You can also have numbered bullet lists, regular bullet list. You can do alignment stuff in here. You have different colors that you can highlight your text. You can come in here and highlight the, well, one's for the background of the text and one's for the actual text itself. You can add in links on things here. Just give it a name and then paste it. You have code blocks that you can add in here. There's some highlighting. I think I showed this here already where you can highlight certain text in there. You can also strike through different text. You can underline, you can italicize, and you can also bold things. You can come in here and you can set headings. So change things from paragraph, say the heading 1, all the way through to heading 6. You can even do bullet lists, number lists from this particular kind of selection tool, and quotes as well. So you have a good array of editing or formatting capabilities here within the editor itself. I have found that on whether you're on mobile, if you're on mobile, the formatting toolbar on Android actually rides along the top of the keyboard, but on iOS I have seen where it's a little, I think there's a bug in there or they just need to optimize the UI, but this toolbar is locked in place down here at the bottom, similar to what you see here. And I'll show a picture or a video of the experience on the iPhone just to show you what that looks like there. But you have all the different formatting tools here that I think most people will need for basic note taking. So most people should be happy, I think, or at least okay with the experience that you're going to get here. Now, there are no tables, no table support in here as far as being able to create a table. So if I was to come in here and say look in this list, you won't see tables and you won't see tables here. So, but if you paste a table in here, I have seen that is actually supported. So you can get a table in here. You would just have to create it outside of this particular app and paste that in here, and it does recognize the formatting. You can export your notes from here. So individual notes get exported to Markdown. You can add images from here. And the images that you add here and within the editor by default will go into the top, you can say banner area here. So if I create, or if I copy in an image, let me go ahead and copy one in. As I mentioned before, the image will get copied, but there is no indicator now. So there's a little bug here where it's copying this image in the background that I pasted into this note. And eventually it'll pop in. You can see it just popped in there. And you have this little icon here that says main image, where you can set images as your main image if you have multiple images in here. And that image shows up here at the top. You can either edit it this way and you can delete it, or if you have additional ones in here, you can set those as your main image. You can add in images here from your desktop. And let me see if there's something here. Let me try. Let me see which one would be a good one here. 3-column day. Not sure what that one is. It uploads and we can see that image is here. If I want to switch this image as the main one, I can go ahead and switch that one. We can see it kind of changed here in the background. If I want to change that back, I can easily come in here and click the 3 dots and change that back. You can click on each image to expand it out like this. You can right click on the image, at least in the browser I'm in, and I can copy this, and it works at least within this browser, and I've seen on Chrome browsers. You can copy these images if you want them in other places. And this happens to be the same location as here. So whether you open it from there or you hit the edit tool there, you can work with your images. You can still paste multiple images here in the bottom. You get this little drag or resizing option here for your images, that you can resize the image when it's in the note. So you can make that as big or as small as you want to. Let's go and see if it'll actually align. So if I want to align that to the left, will that work? No, so it does not let you align anything. It does stay fixed in the center here, and then you can just expand or reduce the size of it, but it doesn't look like you can actually align it to one side or the other. If you want to share a note, you can come up here and you can copy the link to this note here. And if I open this up in a browser, paste in the link, and actually I'd have to do an incognito. Let me do an incognito one so it looks better here. So have a private window here, and so I'm opening this up as a private window, and we can see how this looks here. I'm not logged in here, or at least I should not be logged in. And let me see, let me put something there. Okay, it does prompt me to log in once I start editing the text. And yeah, and then if I hit save there, it asks me to create an account or log into an account. But it looks like you can actually edit this somewhat while it's sitting here. It's not just in a view mode here. Or I can come in here and share it this way here, where anyone right now with the link will have access to it. If I want to turn that off, I can turn that off. So now you don't have to worry about someone having access to this link. What I have not found is that you can share a link that's just view only, where it doesn't look like you can actually edit it. Right now, when I share this, people will look here and they're like, oh, I can edit this thing and I can do stuff in this particular note card without having an account, even though you still need to put an account in. As soon as you start typing stuff in here, you can see how it just keeps prompting me for some kind of account in order to work with this. Now, if I come in here and let me actually log in with a different account, and let's see. All right, so I'm logging in now with an account that I've shared this link with to my card. And let's see right now what we get here. It looks like it's actually summarizing that note or something here. Let me refresh. Right now it says duplicate key property. Let me go back to here, home, chat, maybe refresh. Enable AI features, chat, that's question, okay. Setup complete, start chatting. Okay, that's there. I don't see the actual content. Let me grab that link again. Grab the link. Now that I'm logged in with this particular account, let's go ahead and open that up. And I'm using that share link here with an account that I'm logged in with that's different from the one that I created this note with. And it doesn't look like it's actually going to create the note or let me look at it for whatever reason here. Now when I'm not logged in, it worked fine, but as soon as I log in, it looks like there's some issue here where it doesn't want to open up. Oh, okay, there we go. So it just took a really long time for it to open up. And let me see if I edit this, will it save to this environment only? Let's go back to home. It says, welcome to the knowledge base, get started. Okay, so right now it shows here, add content. Let me change the view, and I'm not seeing this show up in this area because I haven't tagged it. But if I give it a tag, and let's do test. Actually, let's do something here, shared with me. And now this is in here. All right, I've even made some modifications to it here. And this is in my vault now. All right, now if I come over to the original, this should not be edited. Let me come up here. Let me see, shared. All right, so it's interesting. So it is shared and it's not modified on this end. So this is pretty interesting because one, it doesn't sync the modifications, and this doesn't let me know that I've modified it, but it just shows that there is a web link here and that it is shared on the internet. So if anyone has this link, they could grab it and they could copy the information and data, just like this particular account here did. So yeah, so just be aware if you share it out and someone else has another account, they can basically easily pull it into their knowledge base or vault within Recall. And this could be either a good thing or a bad thing, just note. But if you share it and it's just in a view capacity anyway, most people could find workarounds where they just copy the information and then paste it in. But this does at least provide an easier way if you want to share it and have other people add it to their vaults or their knowledge base. Another thing you can do within the note is that if you have other cards within your note, or even if you don't, what you can do is you can come in here and let's say general. If I want to link this to something, I can hit this lightning bolt here and it says create link. And this will link it to some kind of card information. So if I hit that there, it will use the word to search Wikipedia and maybe a few other places online to see if there's any cards with that particular word in it. If not, then I can actually create an empty card on my own and then put the information in that I want in there. Or I can link it to one of these other cards. It doesn't have to be the exact same name, like this Tampa General Hospital. Maybe I'll put that there, and then when I look here, I can see this information. And then it also shows me some relevant information because this is related to, I guess, the health or doctors is showing a relation here to something that I have in my vault as well. You can come in here and undo that particular link in there. And if you have any connections or links within your cards, within your vault or knowledge base, you can come in here, I can highlight it, and I can actually create a link to other cards that are within my knowledge base. So let me see, is there anything else in this? Now I think we covered everything on the notebook. We've already went through all the different formatting options, how you can add images. Tables are not directly supported to where you can add or create tables within the editor itself. But if you paste the markdown formatting of a table from another piece of content, then it will recognize it and put the table in here. So that works. You get the chat where the focus is on this particular note. You can create the concise or detailed summaries from here. You can generate questions. You can create your own as well, so you don't have to just let AI generate questions from the content. You can create your own manually. You have the connections in here, and then you also have the graph view that shows up in here. So I will come in here, and if this is a journal note, then I would put in the full date as a format at the top there, and then I will put in a template for that I use for my daily note. And then I can put in all the content. Usually for the journal, I'll just put in a timestamp, and then I'll do bullet point entries here for what I'm going to put in. Everything else, I do use the bullet points here and just put in the information under these different sections as I need to. Now, this works very well for me too, because this brings up a different use case where I'm not just doing research type stuff. So I'm using Recall as a personal knowledge management type solution. I like the personal knowledge management just because I want to include that personal part of it as well, which includes me putting any and everything that's personal to me into this system, and I can actually work with it. So having the AI at its foundation really takes this to another level for me, because I'm an Obsidian user, which is a great tool, and it can actually still be used in conjunction with this here if you like. But this here I can see as a complete replacement as well for those that don't really care too much about the local first aspect or just having everything local and offline. So if you're okay with not having full offline capabilities at the moment, then this could be a good replacement for Obsidian for you. But I can come in here and I can journal and I can put in all types of information here. And the key here for me, at least within the way I format my notes, is I'm putting in timestamps and I'm also putting in date references here into my notes. So when I ask AI about something and I go to the chat, let's, so this is, I'm going to delete this one because this is not, I already have one for today. And what I can do is, if I was to come in here and I just go to the basic chat here, I can come in here and I like to prime the chat window here with who I am and then the current date. And I can just hit enter on that there. It will find, okay, this is me and this is the current date. And I can put in there, let's just ask a question, what events were on my calendar last Wednesday? And I can go ahead and I can send this here and it says what events were there. It says there was an error processing the request. So this is how you're seeing it live here. This has worked for me most of the time. Let me refresh and see if it actually finds the information. Okay, so you see all I did was just hit refresh to redo it again, and it was able to actually come back and find the information. So, and these are things from my calendar that I did. I also have objects in here, and let's collapse that. I have objects, and then I have people, and I can click on the people, and I have different people in here, and family is one of them, right? So if I click on, let's undo, let me clear this here, do this, and I get a list of all my family in here. And you note I have this one card here for me, and if I click on that there, I can put all the information about me, and then I put who I'm married to, my father, my mother, my kids, my birth date, who my siblings are, and then some other stuff that I'm looking to add in here. But a lot of the top information here was from me thinking, you know what, I can create a family tree here just by putting in the names of everyone within my family, and then at a top level, who that next level is related to. So right now I can put I'm married to a name, right? I don't even have to put this because technically what I can do is I can go into my wife's card and I can just put that relationship over there. But or I can just put what I have done is let me go into the card that I could relation to me and I put wife. I can have either or of one of those and it will still have the context, enough information to know, AI will have enough information to know that Kimberly is my wife. So I don't explicitly have to say married to. I can just put on the other side, I can put relation to me. Now, what I can do is here, I can put, so we both have kids that came into our marriage, and we all have our different siblings, right? And I can put those siblings, I can put my brother and sister's kids in here. And then when I can put their birthdays, and that's really probably more the biggest recall for me on this here. But as I expand this out to aunts and uncles and cousins and things like that there, the AI can really get powerful as far as me asking it questions about my family. And just the fact that it makes me or forces me to go in and add in additional information in there. I'm creating my own database here of my family tree that I can easily come in here and I can ask chat for information. I can basically say, who are all my nieces, right? And because it knows who my brother is, and in my brother's card, it knows whether he has kids, it will be able to pull that or answer that question without any issues. This is actually been wowing me so far. I haven't even put in all the information that I could yet, but just me being able to remember and recall all of this information about my family, I think is pretty critical. It would also be nice if what they could do here is they can add tasks so that I can get reminders. I can have a task similar to what you can do in Perplexity, where maybe every day that it will, or every week or whatever the time frame is, list out the all of the family member birthdays that are going to come within the next 30 days, right? And then every day the task runs and then spits out either a message to me from within the tool or sends an email or whatever that is. I think that would actually be pretty nice in here. But again, I can come in here, and as I add that information, it's a lot easier for me to be able to visualize, or not visualize, but prompt the AI to answer questions that I may have about different contexts. So for this particular use case to work, the AI first needs to know who I am, because I'm just going to be generic on who are my, and then it just needs to know that my name is, and then it basically works every time when I ask it a relevant question. So this is one particular use case where I'm trying to build this family tree thing out, to recall more about my family. I can also put in information where I'm journaling everything that's happening throughout my day, and I say everything, mostly the relevant stuff, logging my habits, the habits that I'm doing. So if you have a habit tracker, that's another tool that you have to go into. I can easily just put that into my journal entries where I have a habit log for every day. And then I just put, okay, the habit, and then done, right? Or skipped. That's really all I need to do, and be consistent with that every day. And then I can ask the AI on how have I been doing for this particular habit and over the last 7 days, right? And it will spit out that information for me. So I'm a little bit leery on going through the chat and asking some of the questions, just because it will give me information. I don't want to have to blur out too much stuff here, but this is just one example right here. Another one is that I've put in here, say my workout summaries. So Garmin sends me a email every week about the previous week workout summary of workouts that I've done. So I can come in here and do summarize last week's, say, exercises and workouts. And let's see what it comes out with here. So summary of last week's workouts. You can see here it put in last week's. You can put the number of walks completed that I did and how many miles that it completed. And then the bike ride, my average speed, here the time, the elevation and gain. And I can even come in here, how about the week before last? And we can see that it spit out the week before that. How was my sleep over the last 2 weeks? So it comes in and it gives me a summary of all this information, and all I had to do was take the email that Garmin sends me automatically and basically import it into here as a PDF. So if we go into my home, we'll see I have a bunch of Garmin's in here, where these are just the summaries. I didn't pull everything for the year because I just started using this tool, but technically I could go retroactively and grab those reports and import those into here, so I have a year's of information in here, or whatever time period I want, and then I can ask the AI that particular information. Some other stuff, like I have a birthday card in here where I'm listing out everyone's birthday that I think is relevant to me. I could have a card for them or not have a card for them. It doesn't matter. The birthday information will be there for those people that are relevant, that I want to remember their birthday. This could be clients or family members, friends, whoever. So if I need to know whose birthday is coming up, I can put whose, let's see, right now, birthday is coming in, let's say November. And we can see what happened here was it did create a new card. So it doesn't need to know who I am. It doesn't need to know the date as context. So it spit back the actual information correctly here. If you're going to do more of a based on today, give me yesterday or last week or something like that, you will need to tell it, which is what I call it as priming the AI with certain information. And I have a keyboard shortcut that just puts this in here, and that's enough for me to start working with certain dates and time frames and things like that. I mentioned doing projects. You can come in here and you can set up some projects to simulate somewhat what you can get with NotebookLM. And because the recall AI is only going to give you information that's in your vault, this is, in some cases, could be a good replacement for NotebookLM. So I created a top level project called projects. And within here, I'm just going to release my concept or processes to create tags that I can then drop resources into. What I've found is that because recall does not go to the internet, it's a bit easier sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do. Go to, say, Perplexity or Gemini or ChatGPT that can search the internet, find and put together certain information. And then what you can do is you can here, I've taken information from these two, Perplexity and Gemini, pull them into a tag here, a project tag. And then from here, I've used the chat to create a combined summary of a plan that I want to do here for Jekyll Island. So this is pretty easy to do because I can just come here, I can do and then just start typing Jekyll Island and choose the actual tag there as content, and then create a concise plan for this trip and correct that spelling there. And it will take and use both of the plan informations here. You can see the sources there, and it'll put together a plan in here. Now what I can do is, and we can see here where it put Friday, do this and do that. That's because in the other plans, I actually said that I would be going on Friday and leave on a Monday. What I could do here is let's prime this with my name and the date. And what I'll do is come back and say now, click in here, plan, redo the plan so that I arrive, we can just say next Wednesday and leave on Sunday. And let's see if it actually take these shortened up words here and understand what that is. All right, so we can see here that it went through. It changed this to Wednesday. Said I should do this on Thursday, this stuff on Friday, Saturday, and let's do add the best times. And it's probably not going to get this because I don't have the best times in there, so I'm not going to even ask it for that there. So this is again where the power of, or the limitations of recall come into play too, as far as what you're going to get from as a response. So if it doesn't have the information, it can't actually give it to you, or don't expect it to give you information on something it doesn't know. So using other tools like Perplexity, Google Gemini, ChatGPT, those are still great tools for getting enough information that you can then collapse down and really get cleaned up and then put into recall. And what I can do now is when I save this here, I can copy it, save it to a note as the official plan. And then when I go on this trip, I can journal about the things that I did. So when I go and say on Wednesday, the journal for this here, we did this here in Jekyll Island, or particular, we saw the Gilded Age architecture, blah, 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 and add different information. And it becomes relevant to this particular card. What I want to do here is show how to capture some information from online. And this is pretty simple, which is why I saved this somewhat for last. Is that all you have to do is just open up a web page, come in here, you click on the extension after you've installed it, and it will come in, it will summarize the page, it will pull down the information about the page into this reader section. It will grab any connections here. And from here, you can give it a tag. It will automatically put a tag based off other cards in your environment. If you don't have any related to it, it'll just create its own, or possibly even leave this blank in some cases. But usually, from what I've seen, it tries to identify an area or a tag for the particular card. You can add additional ones here. You can see in this one here, grabbed an image from the page here and put it here as a banner, put in a title. All this stuff here, you can come in here and you can change this. So before you save it, if you want this in, you can come in here and you can save this. You can come in here and copy this link here if you want to share it. You can lock this here, which I think is pretty good, but I would rather actually have a way to push this into a sidebar. So I'm in the Dia browser and you see I can open up this chat window here in this sidebar. It would be nice if I can actually do that here with the recall widget or extension here, so it gets more out of the way of the content on the page and I can work a little bit better in the extension here. You can come in here and you can open that up to where it covers more of the screen and you can do stuff in there. And then you can also come into the settings and basically it just takes you here into the application itself. And you can come down, you can enable the augmented browsing. You can turn this on or off. And this basically just highlights different connections on web pages where the words are basically the same. You can set up and hitting entities. So if you don't want to see certain things in the augmented browser light up or highlight, you can exclude those. You can enable or disable the widget, and you can disable some of the pages that this widget actually works on. And then you can, at the bottom here, it shows where you can do an autosave. So when you do the extension to summarize or add in the page as a card or a note within the within recall, you can have it so it automatically saves. I like to keep it to manual just in case. And then you can translate. You can come in here and set the language for the translate summaries here. And then if you go to a YouTube page, you get a similar type of deal here. You come in here, maybe find something that works for you. You can either come in here, you can copy the link and then copy paste it over into the area as mentioned, into the application as I've shown before, or you can just open up the actual video here. You can click on the link, it will go out, grab the image, title, tags, summarize. You can see the reader where it has the transcript here, and then any relevant connections that it added here. You can chat from here as well, so this is pretty nice. But again, I wish this would actually go to the side as a side panel, not just as an overlay on top of the page itself, so that it gets out of the way. But you can lock it in place so it doesn't disappear on you when you click back into the page, and you can save it from here. Outside of that, some other things or tips that I kind of do. I worked with this more in a browser, and I wouldn't say it forced me to do it, but I get a little bit more efficient navigation or back and forth within the app, just because I can come in here and I can set up these different links to different stuff within recall. So I have the one for, if I click on it, it'll take me directly to this home page, one that'll take me to the chat, and one that'll take me to this particular card. You can link to any particular card, just find it, and then basically just pin it over here on the side. You may ask why I can do chat and graph. So like the chat one is already here. What I might want to do is within my main view have one thing open. So let's say I have my journal open here, and if I want to do a chat, instead of clicking away from it and then having to click back into the journal, basically just have both of them open to where I can go back and forth very easy. So it would be nice maybe if the app had tabs or something like that there, so you can easily navigate back and forth just like this here, instead of having to click over here, click here, and you see when I click on that home, it changes the view. So I got this open now. If I click here, it closes the actual note that I had open. So it would be nice if I could pin tabs or something like that there, so that things stay open that I want open, and then I can quickly navigate to those things. When you are in these views, there is some sorting capabilities here. So if I want to sort, I like the created at sort option here. So it separates things by date. You can also do last updated, references count, alphabetical, and then ascending and descending. You can change this to a little tighter view here to where you get a little bit more on the screen and it doesn't make the image itself more prominent. You get a cleaner look here. You can do the grid. I particularly like to see the images. I think this is a pretty nice view for me. I think I've gone through basically everything here, other than maybe I didn't show that you can collapse and open this particular pane here for navigation. If you get your tree open crazy and the different things, you do have this collapse tags, which helps. You can also come in here, and if you want to say filter right here, I can type that in and then I can see what I want here. This stays open, so I'm not, it lets you find things here. Yeah, it works fine. I don't typically filter in too much here and then start clicking around, but it actually, yeah, it works pretty well. The app is pretty capable, and so far I've really been loving it. Love the potential things that this is going to give me. The AI piece actually works. I've tried some other tools where they claim to do similar stuff like this here, where you can put in a bunch of information, then chat with it, and they typically they get me excited in the beginning, and then when you go to use it in practice, it actually fails. So this one has been the one that's worked the most for me, and out of the box, it's simple. There's not really too much that you can do here. There's not a bunch of plugins and configurations and all kind of stuff. Just put your information in. The AI will summarize stuff. You add your own content, organize it how you want to. You don't have to overanalyze how you organize it, because using the tags, you can have the same thing in multiple places all over or wherever you want it. So yeah, I think it really takes a lot of stress off of just getting in, putting in content and creating content and getting insights from your information. Hopefully this has shown you a lot of the capabilities of what you can do with this particular application, and it's gotten you excited enough to where you might want to go and try it yourself. So the Recall team has given me a 25% off coupon code or discount code that you can use if you sign up before October 1st. And I really think this is a good deal because it's already priced pretty affordable, where it only costs $7 a month if you sign up annually, or $10 a month if you do it monthly, which I think compared to a lot of the other tools out there, this one here is pretty fairly priced. So if you want to take advantage and get this 25% discount, make sure you use the link below, and when you go through the subscription process, you're going to subscribe, At the last step before you hit purchase or buy now, there's a promotion code area. Put in there Anton25 as shown right here in the video, and you will get 25% off the first year that you subscribe to the product. Thank you, Recall, for providing that so that I can give it out to my viewers. This video is not being sponsored, so I just reached out to them about this, and they were kind enough to provide me with this discount code. And this is pretty much what you can get on the iOS and Android using the phone operating systems here. You basically get access to everything that you do on desktop, just in a smaller form factor. Everything's typically fluid, just like it is on the desktop. Things are smaller in a smaller package, so trying to work with certain things like the text editor gets a little trickier. And on iOS, there are some differences from the toolbar that you might see in here that will cause some issues or at least be problematic for you while you're using it. But these are things that could easily be fixed as the applications get more refined, updated, and have the bugs worked out of them. And they improve the user experience across all the platforms here so that everything works as you'd expect them to in the mobile versions of the app and also the web versions of the applications. But you can do pretty much everything. I haven't seen anything you cannot do. Things are just in a smaller form factor. Well, I hope you like the information that I put in this video. I put a lot in here. Remember, the discount code to get 25% off before October 1st is Anton25. I will put that down here as I mentioned before. Hope you found value from this information. If you like the content on this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until the next time, have a nice day.